All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan. I'm the pastor and executive director here, and this is Carrie. She is the associate executive director here. So good to be with you all on this Saturday night of a holiday weekend, which means summer is over. No, come on. I don't speak truth. Too soon. That's true. Hey, welcome to all of you online. I'm glad you're joining us tonight. Glad you're part of this community. And to remind y'all, this is a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we do here is break the silence of addiction while creating space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. And there's always one thing we don't do in this community. You can shout it out on a count of 3. If you're at home online, just shout it out loud. Make it awkward. 1, 2, 3. We don't do shame, but Carrie will tell you some things we do.
Yes, if you are new with us, welcome. We are glad that you're here. We would love to get to know you. Just outside of these doors after service, come find one of us, or if you see some volunteers wearing the little lanyards, they would love to help pass out welcome bags. Inside these welcome bags, you can get some fresh roasted Wagon Coffee from the extraordinary Tammy Canada and all of her team at Wagon Coffee, including some free merch and our Connect card. Our Connect card is how you get onto our newsletter, and then you'll find out every single week what we got going on, events that we have happening, and who our guest storyteller is. So it's a great way just to stay informed and everything that's going on here, including the first thing that we have happening. Are we going to do Maggie's first?
Yeah, do Maggie's first.
Okay, so Maggie, we have a Grounded Warrior retreat that's going to happen on September 21st. It's an all-day event from 10 until 4 p.m. It's one of those holistic mind, body, soul kind of things that has all different kind of practitioners. You can find out more information on our events page. Just go to our website, click under events, and then you can learn more about it, including how to register. And then next up, so this one's really important,
yes,
because if you come next week, nothing is going to be the same. So don't get mad if you come at the 5 and you're like, where's the service?
Online people, this affects you too.
This does affect you too. And if you come at 7 and you're like, wait, it's already over. So pay attention right now. There is only one service next week.
But the good news is, as addicts and alcoholics and
we
loved
love
ones, we love change, right?
I don't know that we do,
well.
though. I feel like people freak out with change, Ryan.
Okay, maybe I lied again.
So this is why, but it's going to be nice and easy. It's going to be from 6 o'clock to 7:30. So one service, but there's going to be fun little things that happen throughout. There's going to be some food trucks, and there's also going to be some resources. They're having a gambling panel. It's going to be a lived experience panel. I believe there's 3 or 4 panelists. It's going to be moderated by Ryan and Danny, correct?
Yep.
And it's just going to be a little bit more information about the experience of what it's like dealing with that hidden addiction. And it's one of the fastest growing things that we need to start addressing early, right? So we have this amazing recovery community. We have amazing tools. And now we're starting to do this and shed some light on that area. And I think that's it for those announcements. I did receive one at last service. There is tomorrow is International Overdose Awareness Day. And in Golden, it's a free event from 4 until 7 p.m. at the Golden Welcome Center. It is like a march, a walk, a rally. And I know some people in this community who have been affected. They've asked us to share this, so if anyone wants to go and support, that is tomorrow in Golden.
Yes. Okay,
That's
thank you,
all
Carrie.
I got. Thanks.
Good to have you up here. Hey, one other thing I want to let y'all know about is, Free Recovery Community Chicago, where we were 2 weeks ago. They had their pre-launch. Their official launch is September 20th, Saturday night, September 20th. To be in solidarity with them, to help them celebrate, Mark Wonder, who's part of this community, he is also part of Billy's Gourmet, is it Billy's Gourmet Hot Dogs? Anyway, Mark and Billy's Gourmet Hot Dogs are going to come here that evening, September 20th, and there's going to be free Chicago-style hot dogs and chips and just other goodies. And they're supplying that for us. They just wanted to do this as a gift to help us celebrate Free Recovery Community Chicago. So we're proud of y'all. We're going to be standing with y'all that night. It's going to be all kinds of fun. So come get free hot dogs. Oh, and there is a veggie option, I was told to say. Carrie will have the vegetarian hot dog. Okay, y'all, so that's September 20th. But the way we get started here at Free on a Saturday night is with celebrations. We start with the good. We lift up the good. Maybe you're celebrating a sobriety anniversary or a birthday or whatever the new thing in your life or recovery is. We celebrate it all here. We take 3 minutes for this. Online people, drop your celebrations in the comments, the Facebook comments or YouTube comments, whatever platform you're on. And Colin will have a mic on this side. Jason will have a mic on this side. Very important part of our time together. God joins with us in the celebrations, and we get to root for each other. And tonight, and moving forward, we have a thing we're introducing. Crystal and Ben, they're part of this community. In fact, they do all of our T-shirts and sweatshirts, our swag. But they made us these beautiful coins that have free on them. And on the back, it's got a tree on it and scripture. If you're in your first 30 days of anything that you are celebrating, you get one of these beautiful free coins. So if you're day 1 or day 29 or day 30, you get one of the coins. So just raise up your hand and give us the good news. Let's take 3. This time is yours.
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm an alcoholic. I'm 24 days sober today.
All right, get your coin. Happy 24 days.
Hello, I'm Tina. I'm alcoholic and celebrating 33 days today.
33 days. Congratulations. You just missed the coin.
I'm Kai, and I'm celebrating 897 days free of fentanyl.
897 days free of fentanyl. Way to go, Kai.
Hi, I'm Layla. I'm celebrating 115 days of clean and sober from all things toxic.
Way to go, Layla. Congratulations.
I'm Andrew. I have 30 days clean and free today.
All right, Andrew, give him a coin. Way to go, buddy.
My name's Talia. I'm celebrating 255 days clean and sober after 2 relapses, and I'm here with my mom. And that's
All
it.
right, glad you're here.
Celebration.
Welcome. Congratulations.
My name's Katie, and I'm celebrating 7 months today after many, many relapses.
All right, happy 7 months, Katie.
My name's Gabriel, and I'm celebrating 163 days sober.
All right, way to go, Gabriel. Congratulations, man.
I'm Steve, alcoholic, celebrating 11 days.
11 days. Glad you're here, man.
Hi, I'm Kim, and I'm celebrating 7 days sober.
All right, Kim. Congratulations on 7 days.
I'm Nicole, and this is Mark, and we are celebrating that we are buying our first house together on Wednesday.
Oh, yes. Way to go, Mark and Nicole.
My name is Mike, and my wife and I are celebrating our 37th anniversary this year.
Woo-wee! Happy 37 years. It's a long time to be married to the same person. Anyone else? We got 30 seconds left. No, let's just make it awkward. All right, well, thank you, Colin and Jason. Tammy, are you going to join me up here? Thank you, sir. Here, why don't you use this one?
Thank you.
Sometimes it's a trek coming up here, isn't it?
Hi, guys.
Uh-huh. I didn't know if you were going to come tonight.
Well, we had all the things, and all the kids had stuff, and I was like, let me just see how I feel. But
And you felt good?
I had some downtime, so here I am.
She was missing me, y'all. That's why she came.
Oh, yes.
All right, all right.
Could I celebrate Amy Stevens, please?
Amy Stevens, where is she?
She just celebrated 3 years of volunteer service in the cafe, and she's our longest-term volunteer that we've had at Free, and I appreciate you, Amy.
Way to go, Amy. We're grateful. Thank you, Amy Stevens.
I like you and I love you, friend.
All right, shall we join our online people? You want the first one?
Hey, buddy. So celebrating our little Kennedy turning 5 last week and starting kindergarten.
All right, happy birthday, Kennedy. 5 years old. Christy says, celebrating a great vacation week with Jen's family. Yeah, we'll celebrate that, Christy.
You guys?
I saw some of the pictures. Beautiful. Oh, we're celebrating.
Yes.
Oh, wait, we just read that one.
Same celebration. There we go. Mike says, celebrated another birthday this week and made it to 62.
Happy birthday, Mike.
Friends.
Glad you're with us tonight, brother.
Mike in Chicago, right?
Mike in Chicago. Monica says, celebrating my sister's scans came back good. Thank you, everyone, for all the prayers. We will celebrate that, Monica.
That's great news. Okay, John says, today I want to celebrate all of us in this room, online, and everybody in the free community. Because through Tawny's death, this traumatic heartache that Carrie and I experienced, his wife, I really learned that true meaning of when we say, these are our people, these are our peeps, this is our tribe. All y'all gave me a shoulder to cry on. You let me hug you extra tight. You called us when we have never even met you and brought us meals when we couldn't feed ourselves. You're making me cry, friend. So today, I want to celebrate you, and I want to say thank you. I love y'all.
John and Carrie, we love you guys. Yeah, that was beautiful.
With that and my tears in my eyes, goodbye.
Yeah, thanks for being up here. The beauty of community, though. Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, we are, this has been a 5-week series. This is week 5, so it's the wrap-up of this series called Let Them, based on Mel Robbins' book, Let Them. Tonight, because the series is actually called Let Them, and then parentheses, and Let Me. Tonight, this is Let Me Be Free.
The next time you feel left out, your friends all go out to brunch together and they don't invite you. Let them. Or maybe the person you're dating doesn't want a commitment. Let them. Or perhaps your spouse does not want to do the 5K with you. Let them. Your company is laying people off. Let them. You spend so much time and energy trying to control other people and getting emotionally worked up about things that are beyond your control. You can tap into peace and true control if you let them be themselves. The next time you feel...
So you got clean and sober, or as a loved one, you got into recovery, or you got help with your codependency, and you're on a journey of healing. In fact, you've experienced lots of healing along the way, but is there still something in your life you just can't kick? Like maybe it's those old thoughts that just keep creeping up. Or maybe it's an ache deep in here that just never seems to really go all the way away. Or maybe it's fears. Fear of not belonging, fear of not being good enough. And frankly, you're tired of all the platitudes. You are so tired of hearing, well, all you got to do is work your program harder, or all you got to do is call your sponsor. All you got to do is turn this thing over to God, which all may be good and true. But you're like, yo, I've done those things, and I'm still doing those things, but why do I see all these other people around me? It just seems like they're always so smooth sailing through life, and then there's me, and I still struggle with this one thing, and is there something in your life you can't kick? It's like a thorn that's in your flesh, and it just stays. And maybe it's a big thorn, or maybe it's a bunch of little thorns. And maybe you've been beating yourself up. Or maybe you've been really hard on yourself, because if you can just be harder on yourself, then that might actually work. And how's it working for you? Or maybe you've gotten really good at offering grace to others, but you haven't been able to offer that same grace to you. And maybe you've even cried out to God like, God, just let me be free. And maybe you're more free than you think. Do you know the mind is a very fascinating and complex thing? 2 weeks ago, in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, I was awakened from a dead sleep with a memory on my mind that I hadn't thought about in years. And when I say years, I mean like more than 2 decades. Hadn't thought about this memory. Do you know, 8th grade, it was a very difficult year for me. My family, we moved from St. Louis into this small town in mid-Missouri. Small town politics, small town school. I was bullied, I was picked on, I didn't have any friends. And the one thing that I loved in life was basketball, and so I try out for the 8th grade basketball team, and they all know each other. They'd been playing together for years, and then there's me, and well, I didn't make the team. It was also that same year that my brother, who was 3 years older than me, his life and addiction really started to take off, brought a lot of chaos into the family. Man, that year, I didn't feel like I belonged. Life was chaotic. I was depressed. And I thought about all that many times. I had done the inner work with this stuff. But there was this memory that woke me up 2 weeks ago in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning from a dead sleep, and it was this memory. It was in the 8th grade when Mom came to me one day and she saw the state of being I was in, and she said, Ryan, you can't go on living like this. You've got to find something to get involved in. And so I said, fine. Well, there's one other thing that I really enjoy, and I just want to play ice hockey, just like I did in St. Louis. I'll play ice hockey. I know I can do that. I know I'm good at that. And do you know, I'll never forget. That week, she took me up to a sporting goods store, and she bought all my hockey equipment. And if you know anything about hockey, you know that hockey is not cheap. She then signed me up for a league. The problem is, in mid-Missouri, in this small town, there is no ice hockey. You have to drive all the way to Jefferson City. It's an hour there and an hour back. And she was willing to do that for me every single week. So I get in the car, got my ice hockey gear. We make the hour drive to Jefferson City. It's my first practice. I walk into the Jefferson City locker room. I put on all my hockey equipment. I lace up my skates, and I make it out to the ice. And I quickly realize, wait a minute, I don't belong here. All these kids, they know each other. They've been playing together in this league for years, and then there's me. And the truth is, I couldn't admit it to you then, but I can admit it to you now. They were better than me. And so what I do? I skate off the ice, I go back in the locker room, I take off all my hockey gear, I put on my street clothes, I walk out to the car, and I never went back. I didn't feel like I belonged. And there's this pattern that's kind of followed me through life, and in fact, it's been with me since the time I was a little boy, 5 years old. And this pattern, it told me some things. It said to me, Ryan, when your sense of belonging is threatened, here's what you need to do. You need to bolt, you need to hide in shame and hope and pray no one ever finds out what you're really going through. Bolt, shut down, live in shame. And by the way, as I got a little older, what is a great medicine for bolting and shutting down and living in shame? Hello, alcohol. Can you and me be friends? Can we be best friends? Let's get to know each other. It's crazy to me. Still to this day, as a 43-year-old man, my mind can play tricks on me. My mind loves to tell me, Ryan, you don't belong. It's crazy. Do you know, I can walk into a room full of people in Chicago like I did 2 weeks ago. Me, Carrie, and Shanley, Free Recovery Community Chicago. Walk into a room full of people, and immediately my mind tells me, wait a minute. No, these people, they all know each other. Look, they even like each other. Now, Ryan, you don't belong. And in fact, Ryan, you're not even needed here. It's crazy. It's the thing I started. I don't belong. Do you know I can walk into a 12-step meeting, a way of life that I've been a part of for the last 12 plus years, and still Not every time, but sometimes. Still, my mind will love to play tricks on me. I can walk in and immediately, wait a minute, they all know each other. They all like each other. In fact, they know some things about recovery. And Ryan, there's you, and man, you don't know anything about recovery. And what are you even doing here? You don't belong. That's crazy. Do you know I can still sit at a dinner table with dear friends, people that I actually like, and my mind will try to tell me, dude, you don't belong here. Look, man, they know how to do this thing. They know some things about life. Ryan, you don't even really know how to do friendship. In fact, your problem is you're just faking it. That's your problem. You don't belong. That's crazy to me. And do you know, I have begged God to take this away from me. I have begged God, take this feeling of not belonging, take it away from me. And for so long, I thought God was silent. Do you know, every single Saturday night before I come up here and stand before all of you, in fact, it's not just on Saturdays, anytime I am invited to do any sort of public speaking, do you know what always happens? Before I do, my hands get all sweaty. Man, my heart starts to race. I can get out my phone and open up my Aura Ring app, and my app will tell me, if I opened it right now, it's going to say, Ryan, you are stressed out. I get the first day of school butterflies that start swirling in here. Y'all know what these are like? Why does this happen? Man, I have begged God, take this away from me. God, make me more like them, the ones who just make it look so easy. They're just smooth sailing. God, take this thing away from me. I spent years praying this prayer. In fact, I started praying it when I was 22 years old because at the age of 21, I had a public speaking thing that really went awry. And this is not me being like false humility here. I mean, I totally bombed it. It was one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. And from that day forward, I swore I would never go through that again. And for 5 years, I said no to every time someone asked me to do any sort of speaking. And I would pray, God, take this away from me. Why do I have it? Just take it away from me. And for so long, I thought God was silent. Do you have something like that in your life? This thing that you can't kick. And it's like a thorn in your flesh, and it just stays there. And you've prayed, God, take this away. God, make me more like other people. God, make me more like them. And maybe it's a big thorn. Or maybe it's a bunch of little thorns, and maybe you've cried out, God, just let me be free. And maybe you're more free than you think. Do you know, in the first century, the Apostle Paul, he wrote a letter to his friends in this ancient city called Corinth. And in fact, you can find these letters in the New Testament of the Scriptures, 1st and 2nd Corinthians. And what's so fascinating about this passage that I want to share with you is we have no clue, no idea what exactly Paul was going through at this time. We don't know what he was dealing with. He drops this metaphor on us, but we have no clue what this metaphor is referring to. Here's how he puts it. 2 Corinthians chapter 12. So to keep me from becoming conceited, I was given a thorn in my flesh. Notice he doesn't say, God gave me this thorn. He doesn't say, God did this to me, God put this there. No, I was just given a thorn in my flesh. 3 different times, I begged God to take it away from me. But each time, God said, Paul, my boy, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. And that is crazy talk, isn't it? Oh, it's crazy, because if you're like me and you read this, you say, no, God, let me explain something to you. I don't want that kind of grace. In fact, I don't need that kind of grace. What I need is for this weakness, this thing, to go away. And God, maybe you didn't hear me the first time when I asked very politely, but what I asked you to do was take this thing away from me, remove it. You ever been there? Now here's some upside down wisdom, some ancient wisdom that we might need to grab hold of. Let me remind you, Paul is following God at this time. And Paul, let me remind you, the Apostle Paul, he has quite a dicey past. I mean, he's got murder, he's got jealousy, he's got lies and deceit. I mean, you name it, he's got all of it, probably an addict too. And by this time, Paul has had a transformative experience. Scales fall from his eyes. He's seen the light. And now, by this time, he is following God's ways and even teaching the way of God to others. And he confesses this thing out loud. He says it out loud. There's this thing in my life that I'm dealing with. There's this thing that is still there, and it's causing me. It's leaving me a bit desperate. And he asks God 3 times, begs God, take this thing away from me. And we don't know what it is. Whatever that thorn was, we don't know what it was, but he then learns this upside down wisdom, like God said to Paul, dude, if you want to move forward, if you really want to be free, you are going to have to see this thorn as a gift. Wow. What do you mean, see it as a gift? You mean he has to come to terms with his own limitations? He has to come to terms with relying not on himself, but relying on God. It's like the Apostle Paul has to come to terms with this upside down wisdom that says, weak is the new strong. You see, are you able to see that thorn or those thorns as a gift? And y'all, I do get it, because you would give anything. You would do anything. You would pray anything to get this thing to go away, but maybe that thorn is serving a greater purpose. So here's 3 reasons why I would encourage you to see that thorn in your life as a gift. The first reason is this. Because see, that thorn, it might be reminding you who you are and who you aren't. Do you know, when I was standing in that room full of people in Chicago just 2 weeks ago, and my mind's tricking me, my mind's telling me I don't belong. I had to literally go to a corner in that building and find some quiet space, and I had to flip the script and allow God to speak over me. I had to literally confess these things out loud, and they became, and have become for many years, a mantra for me. I had to find quiet space and be reminded, Ryan, you belong here. Ryan, you are totally worthy of being here. Ryan, you are actually needed here. And it goes on. Yes, Ryan, you have limitations, and be careful with this one, because your ego will always hate you for this one. You have limitations, but you still belong. I mean, the truth is, I don't have to, and you don't either. Thank God for my recovery. Thank God for my sobriety. I have new tools today. I don't have to bolt. I don't have to shut down in life. I don't have to live in shame. You, my brothers and sisters, are new creations living in a new system, and that thorn might be the thing that is empowering you to actually move forward and be free. Which leads to the second reason I would encourage you to see that thorn as a gift. Because see, that thorn, it might be keeping you humble and saving you from self-reliance. Whew, it's a gift, isn't it? It don't feel like it, especially at the time, but it's a gift. Because see, what you can do now is welcome that thorn. Oh, how do you do that? That's impossible. Now you can actually befriend that thorn. You can befriend that thorn. Do you know, thank God for my sobriety, because every time those butterflies come creeping in, and every time someone says to me, man, you don't even look nervous. In fact, you don't even seem nervous up there. And I want to say, yeah, but you don't see what's happening on the inside. You don't see the butterflies. But today when those butterflies come, do you know I can actually welcome them? I used to pray them away. I can actually have a conversation with those butterflies, and I can look down and I can say to Mr. Butterflies, I know what you're doing here. I know why you're here. I know you are here to remind me that I still have passion for the thing I am doing. I still have passion for the words in which I speak. I know you are here to remind me that grace is good and that I still need God and that something greater carries me. And here's the deal, Mr. Butterflies. Yes, you're welcome here, but do not wear out your welcome. You can stay for a few minutes, but you don't get to stay for a few hours. Don't wear out the welcome. There is a time and a place, and now you must leave. But do you see what happens when we shift the whole thing and you can see that thorn as a gift? Now you're actually free. Now you can actually name that thorn out loud, and you don't have to bolt from life. You don't have to shut down. You don't have to live in shame and hope and pray that no one ever finds out. You're free. Free to be who you were created to be. Free to do what you were created to do. You no longer have to pray, God, just make me free. You no longer have to pray, God, just make me more like them. Make me more like other people, the ones who seem to do it so easily. You see, in those moments when you're tempted to pray those prayers, maybe God is saying to you, dude, don't you get it yet? My grace is good enough. It's the same grace that got you into recovery. It's the same grace that keeps you there. Maybe in those moments, God is saying to you, don't you get it yet? Every time your weakness shows up, every time that thorn starts to poke, that's exactly where my power works best. Do you know, I started thinking about this thorn as a gift a few weeks ago. I was up at a Illegal Pete's just up the street having tacos with a dear friend of mine. And he wanted to talk about it. He said he had this thing in his life that just kept coming up in his mind. And he was asking me, he says, how do I get this thing to go away? I don't know. That's what I told him. I don't know. I said, dude, what if it never goes away? Like, what if it never goes away, but every time it comes up, it's the thing that reminds you to pray. Every time it comes up, it's a thing that reminds you to connect with God. It's a thing that reminds you that you still need a power greater than you. Every time it comes up, it reminds you to stay humble. Every time it comes up, it reminds you who you are and who you aren't. And then we left. That was a few weeks ago. I haven't seen him since until this Thursday evening at Darren and Kiera's wedding. And he's a dear friend of mine, and I walked up to him. I said, dude, how's the thing going? You know, the thing that we talked about, the thing that wasn't going away. And he said, Ryan, dude, can I be honest with you for a minute? I said, please do. He said, man, when I left Illegal Pete's that day, I was mad at you. I said, you were mad at me? He said, oh, yeah, because I was coming there hoping you were going to give me some answers on how to get this thing to go away, and you essentially told me it may never go away. He said, but can I tell you something? He said, it comes up a lot less. And when it does come up, he says, do you know the first thing I do? I said, what's that? He says, the first thing I do is I pray and I say, thank you, God. Amen. See how that's upside down wisdom? See how it's a shift to seeing the thorn as a gift? It changes the mindset. It changes the heart. Which leads to that third reason. I would encourage you to see the thorn as a gift, because that thorn, it might be cracking the code. I mean, maybe that thorn is revealing to you one of life's greatest mysteries. As the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous puts it on page 84, beautiful line, we will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. And if you've experienced it, you know it's one of the greatest gifts you'll ever experience. And did you know about 400 years prior to the time of Jesus, there was this story that circulated in the ancient Greco-Roman world, and it was a story that was told and retold. It became part of them. It was a story about the Greek god Hercules and the wagon. And the wagoneer on this particular day was in the wagon, and he was carrying a very heavy load. And he was traveling down a dirt road, and it started to rain, and that dirt road, it becomes mud. And the wagon was carrying a heavy load, and it was sinking into the mud, causing these deep ruts. And finally, the wagon gets all the way stuck. And the wagoneer, he does everything he can to get the wagon unstuck. And finally, he's exhausted, and he cries out to his God. And he says to Hercules, "Oh, Hercules, help me in this my hour of distress." Now, Hercules, Greek god known for his strength. How does he respond? "Get up and put your shoulder to the wheel. The gods help those who help themselves." And wait a minute. You mean that's where that infamous one-liner comes from? That infamous one-liner that says God helps those who helps himself, it comes from Greco-Roman mythology? Yes. And let me just ask y'all for a minute. Is that who God is? I mean, is that who you've experienced God to be? God helps you only when you can help yourself? It's not my experience. Because I remember my last drink, and I was of no help to God or myself at all, and God still comes in. Thank you, Lord. And then later on, one of our founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin, you remember Benjamin Franklin? He dropped the line, God helps those who help themselves. And ever since then, it's become like the American way of life, the American ethos. It's become built into the system. Still, 82% of the general population believes that phrase, that line is in the Bible, and it is nowhere to be found in Scripture. It's an old system. And maybe you're stuck in an old system. A system that has been telling you, yeah, I mean, you kind of need God, but really you can do it by yourself. I mean, you kind of need other people, but really, if you're strong enough, you can do it on your own. And how's it working? You see that thorn, or those thorns that just never seem to go away. Oh, just try harder. Just do more. Just put your shoulder into it. I mean, come on. Aren't you exhausted? Try flipping a script. Try grabbing onto that upside down wisdom, the one that shares with us that it's all just a gift, even the thorns. Because when you do that, well, now you're totally free. I mean, you've cracked the code. In all your weaknesses, you've found a new strength. In all your weaknesses, now you turn to a power greater than you. And do you trust that that grace is enough? Do you trust that it's good and it can carry you? Do you trust that weak is the new strong? Do you trust that in the pain you will find a new strength? So I want to invite you to take a moment and reflect on the thorns in your life. And as you reflect, we'll hear this song together. It's called The Cave by Mumford & Sons. Take a moment.
Welcome back. Hi, if you guys are new with us, you should know that every Saturday we invite a community member up into the living room to share some of their experience on the topic at hand. What I love so much is this is my favorite part of my job. But it also comes with being terrified of standing up here. So I loved what you were talking about, like the butterflies, because I would have got to miss all this. But it's so amazing because I get to meet people like Josh, who is our guest storyteller, and he comes from, a little bit of a dark past, but then he's found this beautiful hope that he is proof that no matter where you are, you can find freedom, and it's just a decision away. So please help me welcome Josh up to the community.
Test.
Yes. Hello, friends.
Hello.
All right, so let's start. We got a lot to cover in 15 minutes. We can do this, but I want to talk about specifically the family system you came from. This is a community for addicts, loved one of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And your story really kind of touches all of the above. And I really want to focus on the family system in which you came from, the religious system in which you came from, and then if you could kind of break down how that led to your addiction, and then a different type of system.
Okay, well, first I got to give thanks. Thank you, God, for putting me in this seat. Thanks for the nerves and the butterflies. Okay, I was born in the 1900s, as the youngsters say, and came out in this little adorable flesh suit. And, my God's old school, and he's like, Josh, throw you in the deep end, good luck. And, I was born into a family system, and then born into a small town community, and then into a Catholic school system, which also is the Catholic religion system. So, things happen. There was, abuse and trauma, and I'm sure many of us can relate to that. And around the age of 9, I had my first taste of alcohol. It was a beer, and, even though it tasted disgusting, the feeling, I can still remember it to this day, but it was just this relief, this calmness, I fell in love. And that's when, the beginning of it becoming my solution. This exterior thing that I could use to change the way I feel, pretty simple. So into, my teen years, I knew what I was doing. I knew it was my medication, and I medicated. And, through this, I slowly developed into becoming this actor, ultimately in my own play, the actor and director. But, I continued to put myself into people, places, and things that reflected the cycle I was accustomed to. I was comfortable there. And, I knew how to manipulate. I knew how to find enablers, and I was comfortable. And the most important part of that dynamic is the enabling dynamic of that. So, I could drink. And, when I look at my young adult life into my, adult life into middle age, which I think I'm beyond now, I was living in disloyalty. I was living in denial. There are times I was narcissistic. And, all those things, it's really dishonesty. And, you cannot have a relationship with God with that. And also, I was pissed at God. Where was he when these things happened that were not my choice, right? Where was he? So, and also, I'm Catholic. So he's up there, at the time, he's keeping tab, man. He's keeping score. So, that's the way I viewed that relationship. So there was none. Really, my God was really alcohol. So I was trapped. I was stuck.
And where did that take you? Because obviously you got a little bit more stuck. Can you tell us what that looked like?
Well, as we all know, alcoholism and drug addiction is a progressive disease. And, I was more than 3 decades in. And, I was introduced to the justice system. And, a new relationship, I guess you could call it. So, it just so happened, once I, took away alcohol, my first attempt was in June of 2018. I walked in the rooms of AA, which, I walked in and out of for, since then. But I wondered why my life continued to be unmanageable. Why does my hole continue to get deeper, and then I become a chronic relapser? And it was, my relapses pretty much looked like hospital or jail. That's really what it came down to. And, when you pretty much are drinking yourself to death, or if you're lucky enough to end up in cuffs, then you're locked up, you're not going to die. And, this last time, it happened in June of last year, and I'm locked up and I'm looking at a prison sentence, and there really was no other at that time. I really didn't see anything different than that because I was a menace in Castle Rock for 4 years, and it's a small community, and the judge, the DA, and they're all kind of sick of my shenanigans. So I looked in the mirror and essentially was like, I'm staring at the problem. The common denominator in all this is me. And I asked God for help, and that was a choice. The first time I honestly looked to God and said, I need help. And that's when everything changed. And what that looked like was the right deputies, the right cellies, the right program staff, the right clinical staff, which is through a program called JBBS, which is jail-based behavioral services. But it also meant I moved from one pod to another. I mean, there was also a change in location within the jail, which created more opportunities. And all this was very well choreographed. Like, how could this be? I had to accept the fact that this was not a coincidence, right? So in the beginning of this process, I became willing, because I understood, when I asked God for help and I received this grace that found me, I had some responsibility. I had to put in the effort. And so I showed up and did what I was told. But that thing, let's go back to that word willing. I had to point my will, Josh's will, into willingness to be involved in this process. And it included surrender, and I had to learn what surrender meant. And, these teachers that were put in my life because I was ready, because God has always been there. I learned that there. God has always been there, and all the other relationships in my life were a lesson too, but I refused to learn it. And through this process, and I got to bring up what the book was called for MRT, which was Moral Recognition Therapy, which I did in JBBS, is How to Escape Your Prison. And this is how I began to be free, right? And it's no coincidence, at sentencing, that I was released into recovery drug court. I mean, what is that, right? So.
And that willingness also took you to a place where not only the willingness to take the action and do the programs that were offered to you, but you actually found a willingness to look at your story a different way and look at all those past traumas and look at even the church and God and be able to create a different relationship with this higher power again, but the willingness to not look at it from a standpoint of a victim. When you hear people today who are like, oh, but if you knew my story, what would you say to them?
Well, for me, it came down to accountability. I had to take 100% responsibility for my part. Because, there were things that happened to me when I was little that were not my choice. But at a very young age, I can remember knowingly making decisions that were not the correct ones, or the wrong way, choosing the wrong way. There was an inner self inside of me that, would be like, no, dude, don't make that choice. But, I'd make that choice. And once I took responsibility for my part, that's 100%. So the outcome of every, couple marriages, failed relationships, getting locked up, taking 100% responsibility, that was extremely freeing. And then, this process, God does a lot of work. A lot of these things were removed from me. Not that I wasn't taking part in what was provided, but a lot of this stuff, by learning how to sit through the pain, the discomfort, You know, the sadness, the emotions, by the way, which are a blessing. By doing that work, you know, the freedom started to come. And then I started to see the possibility of the promises. I'm like, oh my gosh, those are for real, right?
Can you tell us the story about how you actually walked into Free for the first time?
Well, I mean, as Ryan said earlier, from the parking lot to the couch. But I was in the parking lot almost 2 years ago, a little less than 2 years ago, and it was on an invite. I was dry at the time. I now don't refer to those times as sober. And I was sitting in this parking lot, and I was scared to come in. I did not feel like I belonged. Sounds like that 9-year-old, right? I did not feel I was worthy. Sounds like that 9-year-old, correct? You know, that 9-year-old that, you know, I was still was that 9-year-old, I just got taller. And, you know, I left. So, you know, what I have to say about that is, you know, I've learned I've got to show up. And often these things are things I need to show up alone to, whether it's CA, NA meetings, church, whatever. But now I find the strength in knowing that God goes first ahead of me. Yes. And then I show up. And then I participate. And then I connect, because guess what the opposite of addiction is connection, which I've learned to do. And through that connection, I become, you know, I become safe from that powerlessness. Because, you know, I am Josh, I'm powerless over alcohol, I'm powerless over drugs, I'm powerless over people, I'm powerless over everything. So.
Thank you for that. And I know, I want to ask you one final question. I know he's going to stick around after, so if you guys have more questions, he's a very interesting person to get to know. But I would love to, for the person who's still out there in the parking lot, who didn't come in tonight, or the person who's watching online and they're just so scared to come in person, so they're checking it out first online, what would you say to the person who still doesn't feel like they're worthy or deserving, or, you know, if you knew what I did, you would find out that I don't belong? To that person who's still struggling with that message, what would you say to them tonight?
Oh. Well, I would say, I don't care if you're on the street or if you live in the mansion in Cherry Hills or Castle Pines, we all live in the same hood. You know, we rebels all have the same story. You know, you're welcome. You belong here. If you feel like you're stuck, if you feel like, you know, you're in the same cycle and you can't get out, if you feel like you're in your own prison, you know, there's a place for you, right? And all it takes is make a choice. My choice was to become honest with myself. But you're invited, you're welcome. And, you know, what we have to, you know, it's community, it's fellowship. And, you know, I've been asked a question before, like, Josh, if you get to that place where, you know, the house is burning down, you're going to go get a drink. And basically what I say is, I've got help. And that help is right outside my door whenever I ask for it. And that's my tribe, that's my community, and that's my fellowship, which is the gift of freedom that I received when I walked out the doors of Douglas County.
And I thank you for that. And I also want to use this as a reminder to, like, anyone who's either watching online or sitting out there in the audience. Both of us came here through the invitation of somebody else, and both of us were terrified to come in here. So I guarantee that there's somebody else out there in your life who you probably know, whether it's a coworker, a friend, a family member. It's so easy to be that light for someone when you're here now, but it's so hard to accept that invitation when you're stuck out in that parking lot. So if there's just one little message that I think both of our stories resonate, is just give the invitation. And if they don't come, you can let them not come, but to continue giving that invitation. So thank you so much, Josh. Can you guys give him a round of applause? Thank you.
Thank you, Josh and Carrie. Thank you, Josh, for being a part of this community and sharing some of your story with us. And I know there's a lot more to your story because I've heard some of it, and I know you share it pretty freely, so get to know this dude. And I'm so grateful you guys just had that conversation at the end, because before you said that was part of both of our stories, I was thinking, man, the number of people, and Carrie was one of them, who watched online for like a year before she would step in or before she would participate. And the number of people who are here and they say, man, just for like weeks or months or even a year, I would drive past, but I was too scared to come in. And then they come in and are like, man, I experienced a lot of love here. Yeah, sometimes you just got to step into that fear and come all the way in, because you don't have to shut down anymore. You don't have to bolt. You don't have to live in shame. It's what community's for. All right, y'all. Thanks again, Josh. The way we close here on a Saturday night is very similar to how we begin. We begin with what we call celebrations, and we close with what we call heartaches. Because maybe you are carrying burdens and you've been trying to carry them alone, and then you have this aha moment like, oh man, I suck at carrying these things alone, and you don't have to. It's why you have community. It's why we have a God who hears the cries of the people. So we take 3 minutes for this. And again, if you're online, just drop your heartaches in the Facebook comments or YouTube comments. We'll join with you there. If you're here in person, Colin has a mic on this side. Jason has a mic on this side. Just raise up your hand and speak that heartache into the mic if you need prayer, encouragement, lifting up. That's what this time is for. So let's take 3 minutes. This time is yours.
If you guys could just pray for my mom, Elise, and her health. She's not doing very well right now and does not have medical insurance. So if we could just pray for her, please.
All right. Prayers for your mom tonight. Yeah.
My name's Nicole, and I have 5 years of sobriety, and I feel like sometimes I know what I'm doing, but my identity has been my job since I got sober. And it's taking away from my sobriety, from my kids, from my boyfriend. And I am going to walk away from something that is the most important thing, no matter the cost. And I am putting in my notice at work on Wednesday, right after I close on my house, because it's finally safe.
Nicole, prayers for you. Thank you for sharing that with us. I hope your work doesn't watch this live stream before Wednesday. Prayers for you.
All right. I would like to pray for one of my brothers in Christ who's currently in IRT and has the opportunity to take that deep inward look. And I would like to pray for him while he's going through that process.
Prayers for him, Josh.
I'm Megan. If you guys wouldn't mind keeping my mom in your prayers. Yeah, she just had a pretty big spinal operation yesterday or a couple days ago, so it'd be appreciated.
All right, lifting up your mom tonight.
My name is Layla. I believe it was in Minnesota, but there was a shooting that happened this week where 2 children were killed. And so if we could just pray for those families, 17 injured, I believe it was. So just lift them up in prayer.
Yeah, 2 young kids killed while literally praying while at a Catholic Mass. Prayers for their families. Anyone else?
My name's Andrew. My dog of like 15 years almost is not doing well. She's had laryngeal paralysis for 2 years, so didn't eat for 3 days this week, but is eating again, but you know, days are borrowed, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, picked me up from the drowning at one point. Not literally, metaphorically.
Metaphor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was God to Peter, if you will. I don't even know the Bible. I just went to Catholic school. Anyway.
That's a great line.
Yeah. So, yeah, just and this goes out for anyone who looks in the mirror and says you're not worthy, you're not good enough. Stop with that noise. It's false.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew.
That's a good word. Thank you, Andrew. First. Okay. Well, yeah, we got one more. Yeah.
I just want to pray for my mom and my aunt. They spend a lot of their time taking care of my grandma who has dementia, and it's just super hard on both of them. My mom is here. She spends half of her month in Wyoming with her, so she's able to stay at home, and it's just rough on her. So if we could just pray for them.
Yeah, lifting you all up tonight. Thank you for sharing that with us. Jason, you want to join me up here for some online heartaches? Thank you, Colin. I'll take that from you. Thank you, Jason, for passing around the mic and joining me up here. You want to take the first one? You just read it off the screen. You take the first one. I'll take the second one.
Okay.
Just go back and forth.
Jennifer says, need prayers. My car broke down yesterday on my birthday, and it might be done for. The stress and anxiety is overwhelming, trying to remain grateful and positive, but struggling with the worry. Also, super grateful for this speaker. I can relate to church trauma and things happening to me, not by choice. Very grateful to Free for kickstarting my newly found relationship with God and the spiritual community.
All right, Jennifer. Yeah, we're going to clap for that. And we're praying for you. Don't mistake the clapping for just celebration. We're praying for you too. Julie says, we lost our beautiful Jessica 4 years ago this coming Tuesday, asking for prayers for continued healing for our family and for all those impacted by the evil of fentanyl. And Julie, we are, we always think about you. I know you're part of this community. You're always online. And yeah, prayers on a tender day. Prayers for you. Glad you're here.
Susan says, please continue to pray for continued recovery for Paige and for my son Tristan and all the family so we can support them in their journey.
Yeah, Susan, thank you for being here and sharing that with us, and continued prayers for Paige, and we're here for her when she gets back, and we hope it's soon. Stephen says, please pray for Paul, alcohol, cocaine, and fentanyl. Not realistic on rehab or recovery, needs the push of prayer to move in the safer direction. Thank you. Stephen lifting up Paul tonight, prayers that he finds his way into recovery, a place of hope.
Carrie says, prayers for my family. We lost our rock. She was laid to rest this Monday.
Carrie Ann, prayers for you and the family. Glad you're with us tonight. Thank you, Jason, for being up here with me, man. Yeah, if this mission of breaking the silence of addiction, if it speaks to you, if you've been impacted by it, if this is your home, or as John Allison said in the celebrations, and losing their daughter, Tawny, fentanyl overdose. This is his tribe. And this is the place that has loved them. And anyway, if that's you, if you resonate with that, well, you should know that we do rely upon your generous giving here. It's what funds the mission. When people ask, well, how's this whole thing funded? Everything you guys do, we're funded by you, the people. And I know many of you have made it a spiritual practice in your life to give, and you don't come from giving. Addiction, you take, you don't give. And you've made it a sacrificial practice, a spiritual practice. And I just want you to know when you do that, it truly makes a difference here. It makes a big difference. And if you don't give here, please do give somewhere, because giving changes you. If you want to give to Free, we're always grateful for it. It makes a difference. A few different ways you can do it. You can download the app, Free Recovery Community. It's free. All of our content's on there. There's a giving button. Same on the website, freerecoverycommunity.com. There's a giving button there. And there's the 2 kiosks if you're in person, just outside these doors. One just outside these doors. And then there's the Kind kiosk. It's a one-tap credit card, like Apple Pay system, and you can donate that way. It's safe and secure, and it all, when a bunch of little things happen, then big things happen, so it all makes a difference. Thank you for participating in it. And hey, even if you can't give financially, here's a great way you can give back to the community. Jump on to Google and write a review. I think I mentioned this last week. You can write a review of Free Recovery Community. If you're going to do it, though, please do a 5-star review. Helps with the algorithms, all right? But it's a great way to get the message out and let people know that this place exists. And as Carrie and Josh reminded us, places like this, Free Recovery Community, it's needed in the community. Mark Jordan, would you join me up here for a closing prayer? Man, I just put you on the spot like that. He's like, dude, I was just trying to sit and just scroll through Facebook, man, and you, nah, I'm just kidding.
I was hitting the app, but that's all right.
Oh, you were, go back to giving, man. No. I shared that story in my message that, wow, he was on it. Wow. I feel humbled, man. here's why I asked you to come up, because I shared my message that I can go to sit at a dinner table with a group of friends that I actually like and still question, do I belong? And I put that in there because this week I went to dinner with Mark and Scott and Eric and Ben, men that I love, men that I call friends. And when I was driving home, I was kind of mad at myself. I said, why do I feel that? Why does that thing come up and it tells me I don't belong? And I had to remind myself, man, I like them, and I think, dude, lie to me if I'm wrong, but I think these guys like me too. Like, we're friends. Why doesn't this story go away? And I can tell you, Mark has shown me nothing but kindness and friendship and some vulnerable moments that we've had together, and I'm really grateful for it, man. That's why I wanted you to come up here and pray with me tonight. So we're going to close with the set-aside prayer, and I just encourage people to open up the hands, because yeah, if you want to even, in a non-creepy way, touch the person next to you, you could do that too. I like you too, Mark. You know, maybe you're open to a new way tonight, a new way being. Maybe the thorns you're going to welcome in, and you're going to talk to them and even befriend them because they're gifts. So just take a big, deep breath. Yeah, be reminded of who you are and who you aren't. And if you don't know the set-aside prayer, well, it's on your screen. We'll pray it together. It goes like this. God, today help me set aside everything I think I know about you, everything I think I know about myself, everything I think I know about others, and everything I think I know about my own recovery, so that I may have an open mind and a new experience with all these things. Please help me see the truth. Amen. And grace and peace to you. See you next time. Thanks, buddy.